today we're going to talk about accelerating the culture shift, and we'll go into more into what I mean by that. I feel like a majority of you are here today to kind of learn what direction performing arts medicine is going to go, and how we at Offset Med are going to approach that and share that with everyone today. Last week, we got into a really interesting conversation about what do we call these performing arts people? Are they artists, athletes, entertainers? And frankly speaking, they're a combination of it all. It just kind of depends on how they identify themselves with these labels and titles, and even if they do. Regardless, it seems that performing artists are behind in times of resources and understanding of training, fitness, nutrition, kind of like the fundamental aspects of what we would traditionally think encompasses sports medicine and holistic healthcare. And I just kind of pulled a couple of media that was out there. Galantis cancels a show due to an ankle injury sustained during a festival performance. Madonna's got a video of her warming up before a show because she quote unquote has really weak knees. And Derek he just rips his hamstring while filming a holiday special, and in the article he's just the very first move just came out, did a little James Brown split, ripped my hamstring. So these are the people that are kind of at the top of their game, that have a lot of highlight, a lot of media, and we know that resources at the most professional level is even limited. So what does that say about the rest of the performing artists, from pre-professional to students just learning at mom and pop studio somewhere? This needs to change, and this is why we're bringing awareness about it here at Offset Med. So we're really here just to become a place to educate clinicians, artists, performers, and also inspire them to know that, yes, you can bridge the two worlds together, and you can do so in a really awesome way. So today's topics that we'll really try and get through is kind of more of a background and introduction of our crew, our network, why some models are useful, meaning that how some models that have been developed in sports medicine, why they're useful, but then maybe not so relevant in the performing arts realm and where we need to grow. And hopefully how we can breed a new generation of people to care for the arts. And then we'll wrap up with a Q&A at the end. So don't worry, everyone, I won't be talking forever. So we are, commonly said, for the people, by the people. This is kind of our timeline. All of us, Scott, myself, and TJ, we're quote unquote ex-athletes, are still athletes, even in our time now. And we all have a common goal about bringing the education and things that we've learned back to our community. And I don't think everyone knows the origin story of Offset Med, so I'd like to begin with that because it really felt unconventional. So I began with this idea back in 2017 with my friend Angela at the time, and it was called Marked by Movement. It's supposed to be a play on words on how you need to kind of mark movement or understand movement first before you execute and perform. And that was when I kind of took this model of providing care and bring it directly to dancers. Our first stop was at Snow Globe Studios in Whittier, and we did a little drop-in clinic for them. And I realized that this had a lot of potential back in 2017. But at the time, I was still in graduate school finishing my studies, so I had more time to brew on it. By the time spring 2018 came along, that's when TJ and I met. And we actually met through a, I guess, like a fight on Instagram, so to speak. As some of you may know, the profession of athletic training is not licensed in California. And TJ is kind of under the Occupational Therapy Board. And at the time, we were trying to jump on their board to get licensure. And there was a lot of misunderstanding between healthcare professions at that time. We were really defensive, trying to protect and gain what was ours, but then also on the occupational therapy side, they didn't really have a good understanding of what athletic trainers were. So this is kind of the area that I feel like most people already knew that healthcare was working in silos and there was minimal collaboration. Everyone was talking about interdisciplinary care and building interdisciplinary teams, but how to actually implement that is still pretty difficult. So that's how we got our start, and we continue conversations then. I ended up moving back to California in summer 2018, and many of you may know Dylan. He is my co-host on the Offset podcast, and we started that in the summer of 2018 together, trying to promote more education and awareness with this newer platform of podcasting that was growing really hot at the time. I think we're now at 2 seasons finished, and we're currently working on our 3rd season. And then Scott joins our team in the summer of 2019, so we've had roughly almost half a year of troubleshooting and realized we needed to expand and open up our doors a little bit more. So Scott was gracious enough to help us out. And since that time, we've been through a lot together as a team, as a group, a lot of learning curves. Being all from different healthcare backgrounds with different strengths and weaknesses, we realized that this alone, we can't do this alone. We need the help of others. And so I made a separate slide for our crew because without them, the clinical stuff couldn't happen. So Dylan helps with our podcast, getting most of these photos and media that you see in these presentations. Hannah helped us out with our logo and creating the brand and the marketing for us. And Audrey is kind of like our in-house expert, but also is going to be an athletic trainer soon when she finishes school and gets her BOC credentials. So we are just one group out of many in this landscape. Many of you may be familiar with some of these organizations out there. So Harkness Center for Dance Injuries, associated with NYU Langone Medical Center. They are kind of the most renowned, let's say, dance medicine provider on the East Coast. I know Cedars-Sinai and USC Kaufman Dance have an affiliation by providing dance medicine resources to their performers as well. But those are kind of like 2 hospital-based / school-based healthcare systems out there that are designed for the dancer and performer. We also have NeuroTour on the East Coast. They primarily provide sports medicine, performing arts medicine services on Broadway and other kind of theater traveling shows. And then we have kind of Doctors for Dancers who have created a, I guess, like inventory of providers across the country, ranging from those who are doing kind of like their own private practices to working clinics, things like that. But in all these aspects, there are limitations to what they are able to provide directly to the performing artists and also how they can share that knowledge. And offset.med is trying to really create our own ecosystem of people that care for not just performing artists in general, but we're more for the urban athlete, hip hop artist. So when creating something, we understand that research, clinical practice all matter. But at the time when we entered the field, dance medicine as we knew it was missing a lot of things that I felt like traditional sports medicine had in terms of sports performance and coaching. They've got the correctives done, they are doing rehab exercises, prehab exercises. And I wanted to highlight this particular slide from ALTIS Education. We took this kind of from their performance therapy model course. This idea that all models are wrong, but some are useful. And George Boxwood, and some of you may have heard this quote before. And this is the model that we are operating under, that, dance medicine is this kind of Pilates, this yoga, this, need for like rehab and a lot of like alignment issues, very like internal focused. And I felt like what was missing in that transition, why we still see a lot of chronic injury, high injury rates, that it was coming from a systems issue. We were tackling the individual issues, kind of seen here in this slide. So you can see on the left-hand slide right here, the dancer performer has this content that they've amassed over time. They're focused on their techniques, stability, understanding what their normal is, and developing consistency in their movement execution. But how often do we focus and also pay attention to how context changes that and how it throws chaos and disorder, especially when someone is returning from injury to full performance? And in performing arts, full performance is another world, especially from stage performances where there's lighting issues, costumes, transitions, things of that nature. So this model is great, but we still have room to grow. So while we were looking at the individual level, we also realized that as a structure, or to provide structure to this group of people is really essential. And I really enjoy this graphic and model that they have for their athletes there, and the way they've kind of broken and sectioned things off, where they talk more about performance health management and how coaching plays a role, and how medicine and therapy and the sciences have significant overlap. Nothing we ever really do happens in isolation. There needs to be, or there is already collaboration that happens, and whether you know about it or not is the issue. Are you able to communicate between these various realms and understand what's happening to the individual health of this athlete, with all the different moving pieces going on? Because there's a lot, and we need to build this infrastructure for them, because right now there's a lack of it. And with the lack of it is a lot of dancers are falling through the gaps and getting hurt, being unable to pursue a career in a passion that they want to. And so it leads us to this monster of a model that Cirque du Soleil Performance Medicine and their sports science termed as durability by design. So a lot of the performers at Cirque du Soleil are actually ex-Olympians, are actually Division I athletes that they want more of a challenge, but maybe in a different way. And so we throw the artist side at them. And so this model really shows that the artist or athlete is at the core of what they're trying to support. And we play a role in that, but not only as sports medicine providers, but the rest of the moving parts in performing arts that it takes to create a full-fledged production. And this is kind of what I would say, we're taking a systems look at how we manage injury and performance, because these are the considerations that are being taken care of. So if you start at the center of this graph, These are the individual modifiable things that the artist can work on. And as you slowly span out from green, red, and blue, you can see how touring conditions, social support, safety considerations, all the way up to management and casting decisions and who's involved really create this interconnected web of determinants that provide a more in-depth answer into, are we really preventing injury? Are we really helping performers achieve the best and have a really solid chance at a long-term career in the arts? Because it is very demanding, like it is when you're pursuing a professional career in sports. So I want to usher in a new generation of people that can look at this spectrum of entertainer, athlete, artist, that have medical knowledge, understand that health is a wide spectrum and how a focus in performance can elevate health. And when I look at this picture and I see the faces involved, they all embody a combination of these traits, of these labels, of these identities. And this is the new generation that we want to continue to support because they have the experience and physical embodiment of what it means to care for someone that is going to go through this, and have the reason and motivation to continue to do it even when, times like this, it's rough to be a performing artist. It's rough to be a medical and healthcare provider. No one's really going to do this because they're going to make the big bucks off the bat. Doesn't mean you can't. It's a hard road. There's easier ways to make money. So this is what I mean by accelerate the culture shift. And we have to do this on two fronts. One is to continue to promote and educate this idea of performance, health, wellness, and give this community the fundamental tools and information to guide an independent, healthy lifestyle for them. But they need the guide, and we have to be equipped to speak their language and become that guide for them. So what we're really offering in these next couple weeks is a chance to trial out this virtual mentorship group that we've compiled. We've actually done a test run of this in the past in fall of 2019. We took a group of 10 students. We structured it as a bi-weekly group call with structured online modules using Discord. And we had discussions. We talked. We went through people's concerns as they dealt with their own patient population. We exposed them to new concepts and ideas, maybe similar to some of the models that we presented earlier. The idea really was to create a community of providers that kind of understood the same thing. Like when you go take a course, when you go to school with your cohort, you learn, you read, and you talk to each other. You build relationships with each other. And similar to the story of how I met TJ and brought Scott on board and grew the team of offset.med, communication is not given enough attention to. And if you think you're good at communication now, just wait till you get into a room of 15 other people with different backgrounds than you and different levels of understanding. Because the hard part is getting everyone to speak the same language and understand the same thing, but also let them bring their differences and experiences to the table. Because it's that perspective that I feel like really grew this group. So what we want to present in these next couple weeks here is this new model that we've actually kind of been working on for the past couple months. We're opening this up to 15 students with some guest speakers, guests of honors invited. Instead of bi-weekly group calls, moving up to weekly group calls, similar to how you guys are joining us here this morning. We're still going to keep up our online modules, so lectures like these, podcasts we've recorded in the past, articles and research that we really feel like kind of solidifies the things that we talk about. And hopefully when this all blows over, the potential for live meetups to get a little bit more in depth, to further build that relationship and camaraderie between people, and creating a dedicated group chat so that we can stay engaged through the week and keep our minds stimulated and just push and learn. So who is this really for? This is for the sports medicine provider interested in urban dance and hip hop. This is a very niche population. If you don't know it, it's hard to miss it. You know, that you see a lot of this in the commercial industry and world, and performances, music videos. A lot of artists now are developing a brand for themselves and are going to need people to help support them. This is also for dance coaches and teachers interested in injury prevention research and practices. Just because we are medical providers doesn't mean that we are separate than what's happening in the studio or what's happening in rehearsals. We want to be able to create dialogue and friendships and relationships between these individuals. And then this is also for students focused in a career in performing arts medicine. Especially during times like this, it's hard to get your foot in the door. There are probably more people interested in performing arts medicine than there are jobs at the moment. But it doesn't mean you get to stop learning and just hope that you'll get it once you get the job. So by doing this, we hopefully open the doors a little bit more so that you can accelerate your growth. So last week we talked about this. This is the performance trinity, how we can create this ecosystem, this infrastructure between artist, athlete, sports medicine team, and the coach instructor that are guiding this. Because in reality, we are responsible for what happens to this community and how it continues to grow and flourish. Is it going to be in the guidance with good information and good coaches, or are we going to miss the boat and have a even harder uphill battle in the future? So over the next 8 weeks of this virtual mentorship, we've broken up each week into themes. This syllabus is kind of outlined here of what to expect if you do enroll. It's we're really covering a lot of different topics generally, just to get a lot of, I guess, really get a lot more experts to weigh in on these and start building this idea of a well-rounded clinician, a well-rounded coach, and a well-rounded artist athlete. And we're going to tackle this in multiple fronts. This is the timeline that we've set up for it. We're hopefully going to have our group ready to go by April 4th. April 4th will be our first weekly module. And like I said, it's going to happen for 8 weeks, 8 different modules, and around May 23rd. They'll be on Saturday morning, similar to this. Maybe not as early, so we'll start at 10 a.m., go to 11. And then, like I said before, with the potential of a future live meetup. What we're asking from everyone is, if you're a licensed healthcare movement professional, price of admission is $80. If you're a dance coach, graduate student, etc., price of admission is $40. Roughly works out to $10 a week. So if you are interested, after going through this kind of webinar, we do have a sign-up link in our Google Forms there that I can put in the chat, and we are taking payment via PayPal. So we hope that you join us at Offset.med. You know, we are the only ones providing a hip hop and urban dance-based program. We have a great community of coaches and therapists. I'm so excited to get these people together for this group. And I really feel that by building this community, we can really accelerate the culture shift in performing arts medicine together. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining in. And we're going to go ahead and break out into kind of just Q&A. I have my staff here as well. You can also ask them specific questions, say hello. Let me go ahead and switch views now. Awesome. So if my staff here could kind of unmute themselves and just give an introduction, that'd be really helpful.
Hi, I'm Scott. I met Aaron through undergrad at Chapman University for athletic training, and then I further went and got my doctorate in physical therapy. Right now, I'm just doing what I can to help out with Offset, try to build what we need to do.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'm Audrey. Like Aaron said, I'm a student at CVU right now. Until the quarantine is over. Supposed to graduate in May. And yeah, I have a background in dance, but I'm super motivated to bring healthcare and awareness and education to this demographic of people. It's one of my main driving reasons of getting into athletic training, and I don't know, hopefully do that professionally soon.
How's it
Oh, there
going?
you are.
My name's Calvin. Pretty recent add-on to Offset Med. Originally from New Jersey. I have experience in musical theater. And then going into college, I finished at Seton Hall with a dual degree, master's degree in athletic training. I was able to get experience at what Aaron mentioned, the Harkness Center, which was huge experience on Broadway and particularly musical theater, dance professionals. From there, as I graduated, I couldn't find anything that interested me in the East Coast. So I moved out to California and found Aaron through similar interests and jobs such as Disney and AMDA. And kind of traveled along with them. They provide like great education and really hands-on experience. So anyone interested in this shadowing essentially should take advantage of it. They have a huge variety of people that you can learn from, and their education just keeps growing. It's definitely something that I've noticed. And from there, right now I'm in New Jersey, spending time with family, but here to answer questions as a new hire, I guess.
Cool. Thanks, Calvin. I wonder if TJ got this figured out yet.
Nope. He's like, nope.
All right, that's cool. I know we got one of our guests here too. Miguel, you want to chime in?
I'm so not ready to talk right now.
But you're always ready on
wasn't
Instagram Live.
I wasn't aware of talking today. I'm like drinking coffee and like doing mobility stuff while I'm listening to you. I've known Aaron for like almost over a year now. We've been in talks for a long time and even collaborated on like a number of things. I'm a PT for those that don't know. I went to school in Boston at MGH, and now I'm out here, and I really like what Aaron's doing. Excited to and honored to be kind of a part of this. So this is actually really cool.
I know Morgan also was part of our previous cohort in the fall, so I guess she could speak to to how different it is going to be this time around.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, I like that it's going to be weekly. Now I'm excited for that, especially with the lack of things to do around the house. But yeah, I'm kind of more excited to see what we dive further into and getting more people on the team so we can have more perspectives, more people throwing good articles, and yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
I don't mind starting. I definitely want to mention coming out of school, coming out of grad school. My interest has always been going into the performing arts field. Without a doubt in my mind, I was like, okay, well, money's not going to be a concern right now because I'm new, I'm young, I have my master's, but it is what it is. I'll take experience. And number two is it has to be some kind of performing arts. It doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to be performing arts, and I have to be able to learn from people. Like I was very concerned about like I don't want to be by myself because if I'm by myself, I'll only know what I learned, and that's it, right? So right now, let's like spread. Um, couldn't find anything in the East Coast, and everything that popped up for me was like mid country or like super south. I was like, damn, I don't know if I could do that. And then this opportunity on the West Coast popped up for Disneyland, and I was like, oh man, that's crazy. Um, financially, it wasn't the most convincing. But luckily I found a place for cheap and I was just like, damn, let me just try it, and then from there, Aaron told me that like the world works in weird ways, how like you come across people with the same goal. And that's exactly what happened. It's insane because I knew Aaron from AMDA's like website. If you search up performing arts athletic, he was one of the few people that popped up for me. And then from there, I got to Disney. On my first day, I started speaking to one of my coworkers, and she was talking to me about AMDA. And all of a sudden, she was just like, you know what, you should apply for this per diem job. There's an opening. I feel like you'd be a good part of the team. And I was like baffled because I was like, first of all, you don't even know who I am. And second, you're just going off my experience of my background. But really, you're just telling me this because I'm a nice person to you. So just going off of that, like summarizing, yeah, like take experiences as they come, especially if you want to work in this field, because at the end of the day, someone is going to take it. Like someone is always there to take it, regardless of like what the outcome may be, just because they don't know what they can win from it. And number two, it's like be nice to everybody. Like whether you think they're wrong or you think they're right, you can learn something from that. And that's definitely something that I've learned to accept while going out to like the different side of a country and like we're learning about all these different types of people and styles of medicine. So yeah.
Dope. Thanks for sharing, Calvin.
I just want to chime in. I think that was rad, Calvin. Thanks for sharing. I have no connection to the dance world, but I would say just from my own experiences, like I totally agree with kind of what you were saying on just like when opportunities come up, even if it's not like the perfect situation, it's not like what the goal might be, like take them, seize them, and like use it as an opportunity to learn from other people, to gain new experiences, to like see new trains of thought and use that as like a stepping stone on the path to whatever your goal may be. Like I know for me, like my first job was at a D2 school, which was great and loved it, but at the time didn't seem ideal. And then my next job, kind of like a similar thing, like wasn't exactly what I was shooting for, but took it, ran with it, and made the most out of it. And those pieces come together to kind of like to align where you need to be. And even though like sometimes it doesn't seem like that, but like
if you're in whatever situation you're in, like make the most of it and do what you can to learn from other people and encourage your own learning and things like that. And like things line up, things work out. So that's cool. And I'm stoked that you're going after this. Thanks for sharing, dude.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And you know, like I said, a lot of the information and techniques, tools that I feel like I now apply to performing artists. I mean, I just learned it from working other sports, right? Seeing what other people were doing, and there's an interesting interplay between all that because you know I kind of bring it back to artist, athlete, entertainer. I mean, athletes are entertainers now. You know, they're personalities, they're celebrities, but there's a certain art to their technique, to their form, their ability to play, and um, I think if we kind of help people redefine what it means to be an athlete and see that there's so many more branches and it can go deeper, then you know this is these principles that we learn and these ideas of communication and developing this infrastructure can go a lot of different ways.
I'll share if you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
So
What's
my
up,
name is
KJ?
JJ. First off, just want to I'm thankful for Aaron for even including me into this chat. Just to give you a quick background, Aaron and I met, I want to say about 4 years ago. I think he took a dance workshop that I taught. And I guess my background, I'm currently a chiropractic student and I just finished my second quarter out of 13. So I'm pretty fresh. But I think what got me into chiropractic care was I've danced, I think in the urban dance scene, I've danced at a high level on two very high level teams. I danced on the company from the Bay Area and I've danced on Choreo Cookies in San Diego. And that led me to also dancing with Keone Mari for Beyond Babel. And Beyond Babel provided chiropractic care once a week for us as athletes and as performers. And I think that really opened my eyes to seeing what I can do for the future of dancers and athletes, and seeing that dancers are 100% athletes and that we need the care. And something that stuck with me was the Trinity talking about the coach and instructor, uh, also being the artist and also being a sports medicine team. And I think for me, I also teach weekly classes. I performed on a high level stage, and I'm also trying to further myself in getting a doctorate degree in chiropractic care. And I just want to provide that for people, just even if you're a dancer, non-dancer. And I think that's why Offset Med super inspires me, just seeing what you guys do, um, sees how much like we can do as just healthcare providers, as people that just want to help. And I want to provide that for anyone that potentially I work with. So I just thank you for including me in these groups, and I'm really excited for just seeing what you guys are going to talk about in the courses and seeing how I can implement that for my future patients or dancers or whoever takes my classes.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, KJ. Really appreciate you, dude. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining in the webinar this morning. And we're going to be posting about this kind of like virtual mentorship soon in the next couple of weeks. You all have kind of more knowledge than what a couple Instagram posts will be. So feel free to share it. Feel free to talk about it with those that you think may be interested. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon and talking soon, especially more often. So thank you all again. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there.